So we just picked up this 2009 Yamaha R1. So this does have a pretty bad rod knock, so I'm gonna go ahead and be rebuilding the engine. I don't know if we possibly have to get a new crank. Definitely brand new yeah, it won't start. It's too dead. But definitely get new bearings, crank, and hopefully if the spare didn't spin, we might be able to just salvage the crank and just get new bearings. But if it's broken, new crank, new bearings, and possibly new connecting rods. So for now, we're just gonna go ahead and unload it and set it next to the jigster. And let's get to it. Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the clip of me and my dad trying to take it off. We struggled a little bit. So we tried to start it up early in that other clip, and the battery was dead. So we're gonna go ahead and charge it and turn it on for the last time before we have to take the engine apart and give it a complete rebuild. So look at this for a little bit. So this exhaust, this shorty exhaust, sounds so good on this bike. So good. I'm so pumped to get this bike running. Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all.
Okay guys, so what basically happened is I lost all the footage from us tearing the motorcycle down and tearing the engine down to see what the damage was done. What damage was done on the engine from the rod knock. What basically happened, just bearings overlapped each other on one connecting rod. So the crank journal was a little bit messed up, not that bad, but I do have that part on video, so here you go. You can go ahead and keep watching the video. We have the complete assembly of the engine and complete assembly of the bike, and by the end of this video we got it running. So hope you guys enjoy.
And to the bike, well, we're just gotta order the bearings. We might get these because there was a little bit of material built up on the case bearings, so we're gonna go ahead and probably get those as well, and the one for the rod, because this engine got lucky, man. It doesn't look that bad at all. Okay, so my dad took over a little bit, and as you can see, the middle of the crank journal is actually polished, but the sides are pretty worn out. So what he did, he grabbed some, yeah, so you can tell better. So if we put it back together like that, the bearing will wear a lot quicker. So what he's doing, he grabbed some sandpaper, basically wrapped it around with WD-40, and then he just wrapped it around, and with a piece of thread just started turning it back and forth, so you get an even wear on the bearing journal, so you don't make it oval.
You need to use a kerosene or oil with the gas or WD-40.
Yeah, so no water, otherwise
No.
the water will go in there and rust everything. So you use gasoline, diesel, or
Gasoline with a little bit oil. It's too big.
yeah, a little bit of oil. as he has to trim it a little bit. So basically that's what we're doing right now, just sanding this down so it's nice and even, so we don't get uneven wear on the bearings once we put them back on. The rods and the connecting rod piece, they did have a little bit of wear on them, but they weren't that bad since they are pretty solid metal compared to this one that's just polished. So we're gonna continue sanding it down, make it flush, so we can go ahead and assemble it again. Okay, so we just finished with the 600 and it looks pretty good. You can still feel a little bit of the high spot, but it'll do just fine. So right now we're gonna go ahead and polish it with the 2000 that we have right here. So we cut little strips, basically put it around, and then spray some WD-40 and then wrap the thread around it and just go ham on it. So we're gonna go ahead and finish up with the 2000. Okay, so my dad's measuring up the plastic gauge now. We finished polishing the bearing journal, so now he just has the plastic gauge there, and I believe he's gonna put another one down here as well so we can get the measurement all around. So what you do with this is basically just you put the bottom part of the connecting rod and tighten it down to spec, and then you take it off to see what the clearance is on the journal for the connecting rod. So we're gonna see if it's up to specs, otherwise we'll have to change the bearings, which we ordered I believe one of each or two of each, so just in case we weren't sure how worn out this was. So we have every possible bearing that we'll need, so we can go ahead and finish it today. So we put the plastic gauge on there, and as you can tell, it's not spread out that much, so that means it has a lot of clearance, so eventually that'll lead to rod knock. So as you can tell, it's actually a lot kind of smaller than 0.76, and it has to be around 0.51 and 0.38, in between those two. So we're gonna go ahead and grab the manual, check what other bearings might work on here that are a little bit bigger, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back here working on the R1. Basically we measured out which bearings would be the best one, the tighter fit for this, since they only do make 4 bearings. They don't make any oversized ones. The bearings usually go with the dimensions of the crank and the connecting rod and the connecting rod cap. But since we did sand this down to get basically machined it, they don't make any oversized bearings. So we're just gonna go ahead and install the tightest fit that we can get from the original bearings. We measured them out with a micrometer, and it turns out the black and the blue are the best fit for this engine. or basically they're just the biggest ones. So right here I have the manual that we printed out. So number 3, which is uneven, I'd put it on the rod, on the connecting rod, and then on the connecting rod cap, number 4, which is even. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the even one on the cap and then uneven one on the rod, so it kind of matches up a little bit, like what it would have been from factory. So I'm gonna go ahead and start installing everything, and hopefully we can have this engine running by tomorrow. Okay, so I already finished working on the engine. I put the rod cap back on, and I have to clean it as well, but I was gonna go ahead and start working on this first. So what we did is we grabbed a piece of cardboard, and with that we started hammering down, as you guys might have seen in the beginning of the video, and that helps you make a template for all the bolts. So with that, we have a perfect template for all the bolts that go on the bottom half of the engine. So we have them all organized, so I know where each one of them go. I cannot get confused, so this is just to be safe. Great little trick right there. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and go out there and start cleaning the cover, the bottom cover. Okay, so I just finished cleaning the cover, the bottom half of the engine. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and continue on the actual block. So all this right here has a little bit of silicone. You don't even need to scratch it off. You can just, with a paper towel and some acetone, actually comes right out, because the coat that they put of silicone is not thick at all. It's actually really thin. So you can see right here, it's a little bit dirty, and now it's spotless, and a little bit of dirt came out. But basically I'm going to do that to the rest of the block, so I make sure it's clean, so we can go ahead and put a little bit of sealer, so it'll be basically factory specs.
Ok, este también está listo.
So we got everything ready for assembly. We have the manual right there. We're checking the torque specs for the bolts, so we have them ready because we do have to put silicone on the cover. So we have to tighten all the bolts before the silicone dries. So right here, these bolts are 7.2 foot-pounds, and then, oh no, that's the tiny ones. Oh, there we go. 13 foot-pounds, and then some have 5.8 foot-pounds. So we're gonna have to check and label the cardboard to see which ones go correctly. So we have the correct torque specs for each bolt, because they're all different, and we do have to apply oil on numerous different bolts before we put them in as well. So yeah, engine oil. So it says engine oil right there on the index, and right there says E. So all those go with motor oil, and then all different bolts have different torque specs, so we're gonna have to figure that out and write it down on the cardboard box and basically just assemble everything. Okay, so as you guys saw, I had to tighten these and then I had to loosen them. I had to tighten them to 22 foot-pounds, and I had to loosen them to 13 foot-pounds, and that's what the factory manual says. And now I have to go ahead and give it 60 degrees on each bolt for the crankcase. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so I finished torquing everything down. I actually torqued these a little bit more than they should have, because it was something ridiculously low. I believe it was like 7.5 foot-pounds for all these little ones. So I mean, most of them are that 7.2, but some of them might be 10, a little bit higher. This one, I just removed it, put thread lock on it, put it back in. Only bolt that uses thread lock in this whole engine, I believe, at least for the crankcase, for the bottom part of the crankcase. Got all of them torqued down. These bolts, I've never seen that before, but they are kind of funny. You torque them down to, actually, let me look at the manual so I don't send any wrong numbers. All right, there we go. So as you can see, it says first, and this is crankcase bolts, the M9 bolts. So it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10 right here. So all these go bolted straight where the crankshaft goes. So right here, as you can see, says first 22 foot-pounds, and then second says 13. So what you basically have to do is loosen them to 13 foot-pounds and then add 60 degrees. I added about 60 degrees, maybe a little bit more, 70. I couldn't really use this. I couldn't put it anywhere. There you go. I couldn't really put it anywhere. It was too high with my extension, and it wouldn't just I couldn't grab it anywhere so I could get an accurate reading. So I basically just went, I estimated it about 60 degrees. But I believe we have to put in, oh well, obviously, we have to put in the water and an oil pump. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue tomorrow. My father took the engine apart, so I do have to ask him how to put it back together. But I mean, yeah. look at that. We almost got the engine basically almost put back together. We put the oil water pump in, put all the lines on. This is the oil pan. We put that on as well. All we're missing is the clutch cover, and then we can go ahead and move on to the bike and start putting it back on the motorcycle. It's been on time lapse this whole time trying to get stuff done, but now we're gonna finish right here. Okay guys, so my father finished the putting the clutch plate on there, the clutch cover. It's kind of funky with the little mechanism that it has, but he got it he got it all put back together. So now we're gonna have to go ahead and go to the R1 and start putting it put the engine on the bike. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. So right now I gotta clean this up so we can get a space to roll the engine down that way and start working on the motorcycle today. So we're gonna do that now. Quick update, we got the engine on, we got all the bolts put on for that holds it on. Oh, just going by. We got the throttle bodies ready to be put on, but we have the overflow tank line that we're trying to put back onto the radiator. But I mean, we're doing pretty well so far, so we'll just keep the time lapse going.
Don't film it.
Okay, so we got everything put in it. We put water and oil in the engine. So right now we're gonna go ahead and start it up for the first time since the rebuild. Hopefully everything goes smoothly.
sé si está sonando bien o no.
Sí, porque está muy fuerte el escape, hay que poner el escape para escucharlo bien. So we can't really hear the engine since the exhaust is too loud.
Pero es súper fácil, mira.
Tanto caliente. ¿Ah? ¿Tanto caliente hasta ahora? So he's checking the exhaust, make sure all of them are hot. So like that, you can tell if all the engines are firing. And he said, yeah, it's good.
¿No se siente ruido el motor?
No necesita nada malo. Pongámosle caja. No ponemos nada, si son cuatro.
Ya, yo me voy a lavar las manos.
So I'm gonna go ahead and install the exhaust so we can actually listen to the engine if there's any rod knocks still, just to make sure everything's okay with the engine. So I'm gonna put on time lapse, go ahead and install the Graves exhaust. We're gonna go ahead and turn it on again so we can listen to the engine, make sure it's not ticking, the rod's not knocking,
Aquí está aceite.
nothing like that. So
We need a little bit more of oil. More oil. Alright. More water.
top it off, top off everything. sounded pretty good. Didn't sound like there was any rod knock. I mean, the engine's pretty loud. The exhaust is pretty loud, so you don't need special tools to rebuild a R1.
Just that shit.
Just whatever the fuck we have here. This is probably the cheapest R1 in the country so far that I've seen. It did have a salvage title, but apparently it was because they changed the dash. It was probably broken. But we picked it up for about $2,000, and it came with the Graves exhaust and everything on it. The Graves exhaust by itself is $1,500 with the whole exhaust system. And we bought parts, the bearings, gaskets, whatever, spark plugs as well. Totaled everything to be about $200 on parts. So basically the bike was $1,200, $2,200. So not bad at all for an 09 R1. So are we gonna continue assembling it? Yeah. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and finish it real quick. So I'll leave it on time lapse.
Sí. ¿Ok? ¿Qué pasó?
Freno trasero no funciona.
¿Qué más detectó en la vuelta?
Parece que la cadena está muy tirante o escucho algo medio raro.
Ya, la cadena está suelta. O el spock está muy dañado. y se está saltando.
Suena medio raro.
Sí.
¿Lo escuchaste?
Estaba esperando que me dijera eso.